Hello, and welcome back to Internet of Terms. This episode is called Here Boy, Fetch. I'm Royi of Samsung's Global Innovation Center in Tel Aviv, where we help software and service startups succeed with funding, mentorship, office space, and access to Samsung and much more. If that interests you, please email me at royby@gmail.com. So, what do we desire today? Reduce battery consumption, reduce unneeded back-end traffic, but no UX compromises. So, display the freshest data with no more waiting. We're here to help you use some of the new tools and rethink some of your practices. So let's start by depicting what I mean with common practices. To keep data in the app fresh, most developers fetch the data for an entire app when it launches and or is moved to the background and or every X minutes in a reoccurring interval, or the refresh button, which is terrible. Absolutely terrible. You download a lot of data every time, and most likely some of it, maybe most of it, will never be seen by the user. But the user waits for the loading almost every time, unless it's with the refresh button, and then it's every time, and you expect an added action from the user. Okay, so some developers said, let's download the data every X minutes, but only when the app is visible. That's good, because they reduce the number of fetches a lot, but cause the user to get a washing machine animation whenever they launch the app, and that's not a good user experience. Mainly because of another issue, which is that you still download a lot of data each time. That's when some thought about loading smaller batches of data for each activity or fragment when they're visible. So the good thing is that there's way less data downloaded each time, so every waiting period is shorter. And you do only download the data the user asked for, but you get a waiting experience on every click, which is not good. Now, you might think that's all you can do, but you've got another thing coming. Here's what you should do. First and foremost, don't fetch on a whim, only when something's changed, either by a sniff test, where you fetch a small record with one field with the last updated time and see if it's newer than the one you have. You can even use Google Cloud Messaging upward push for that. You can also push notification that a change happened from the backend using Google Cloud Messaging or any other service. Or if it's small enough, you can push the whole thing. So you'll do less loading cycles for the user to wait for, and you'll use less connectivity and battery. Also, why fetch by app activity or fragment? Why not just get the diff? Again, if it's small enough, you could push it with Google Cloud Messaging. Now, Google also provided you with tools to know when it's likely for the user to want data at all, like activity recognition. And no, it's not just for fitness apps. Most content apps are for short leisure times during the day, so they make less sense during driving, running, cycling, and walking. So when you recognize these activities, fetch less. But if your app is a navigation and or venue tracking app, like finding restaurants, fetch more times during those activities, but only do so for relevant data and locations. Same goes for network type. Wi-Fi is cheaper and usually faster, so fetch more on Wi-Fi and less on cell networks to save your clients money and battery. Last but not least is battery. Notify your user when their data is getting low. Ask for their permission to reduce freshness for battery's sake. Most users will want that because they'll prefer having a phone than reading your Star Wars fan fiction app. And support offline modes for goodness sake. Okay, that's all the time we have for right now. Please join us next week for another installment of Internet of Things. Please look at the description to find the links to all the post, article, and repos I used. Bye bye.